guys, and welcome back to another video here with Angel B Designs. If you are new, welcome. If you're not, welcome back. In this video, I wanted to talk about and show you the difference between sublimation and heat transfer vinyl. This is definitely a question that I get a lot in regards to which one would be better, like if you're starting a t-shirt business or things like that. And between my group and the comments here on YouTube, this is a question that I get asked often. Which one is better? What's the difference? And which one would be a good starter? Okay, so we're going to go into what is sublimation printing. We're going to go into what is heat transfer vinyl. We're going to go into the difference. I'm going to show you the difference. I do have two shirts here. One was done with heat transfer vinyl. One was done with sublimation. And I'm literally going to go ahead and give you all of the details in regards to both of them so that you can make the best decision for your business. We're going to go ahead and start out with sublimation. Okay, so what is sublimation? Sublimation is basically, it's when the ink adheres to the actual fibers of the shirt. So it's a special ink that you have to use, and it is activated by heat. So you have to either use a heat press or an easy press that is able to go up to 400 degrees. Some blanks do take 385, but you do have to have some kind of heat source that is available or is able to go up to a higher heat. Okay, but it's activating a special kind of heat. A special kind of ink by using heat, and it activates the ink, which makes the colors pop, and it makes the colors actually adhere to the fibers of the shirt. So that's why if you are new to sublimation, you hear a lot of people say that you have to use a white shirt or you have to use polyester shirt. As of right now, the ink, if you're watching this video, I don't know if 10 years from now sublimation will be able to be on cotton, but at the time I'm recording this video, sublimation ink only really adheres to polyester coated blanks. So a polyester shirt, polyester coated mug, things of that nature. So that is what sublimation is. It is actually adhering the ink to the fibers or to the coating of your blank. Okay, so what can you press on? Anything that is sublimation coating is what you can press on. So polyester shirts, the lowest I would go as far as the percentage would be 60%. Anything under 60%, your colors are going to be very, very dull and very, just, you know, lackadaisical in terms of color. So I wouldn't go any lower than maybe 60 or 65% polyester, but your optimal, obviously, amount would be 100%. So polyester shirts, polyester coated fabrics, so 100% like a makeup bag. As long as it's polyester, you can sublimate on it. Sometimes I think there's this one material, I think it's like recycled polyester or something like that. Technically, you can sublimate on it. The problem with that is if it's like recycled, is that it can't withstand the heat. So sometimes it melts. While you can sublimate on it, it just can't withstand the high heat. So your blank will melt if you go that route, which those items typically are found at like a Dollar Tree or something like that. Okay, so mugs, anything, like I said, that's polyester coated. A lot of blanks that people use that are popular are the mugs, the tumblers, the t-shirts, polyester hats, things like that. Okay, as long as it's polyester coated, 9 times out of 10 when you're looking for something to sublimate on, you need to make sure that it says sublimation ready, sublimation tumbler, sublimation coated, something like that. Okay, because you can't just walk into Dollar Tree and purchase a mug and sublimate on it because it's not sublimation coated. Now there is a special chemical that you can use to make it polyester coated, but it's just an extra step in there that you would have to do in order to make a Dollar Tree mug able to be sublimated on. For the settings, okay, every blank is going to be different. So I don't want to give you a specific like 400 degrees for 60 seconds because every blank is different. If you get the photo slate plates, those typically take like 6 minutes. Coffee mugs typically take like somewhere between 5 to 7 minutes depending on what type of method you're using. T-shirts take 60 seconds. Tumblers take you know, people will sublimate them between 6 to 8 minutes. I mean, it really depends on the blank that you're using. So when you purchase your blank, typically the seller will advise you how you go about sublimating it, and they'll give you your times that you're supposed to use. So make sure you check with your vendor or your manufacturer or wherever you purchase your blank from for your settings. Now moving on to equipment. The number one question that I get asked is, can you use regular ink to sublimate? The answer is no. Sublimation is a special ink. It is a special sublimation ink. You have to have the sublimation ink. Now, there's a couple other things that are negotiable, like the paper. I prefer to use a sublimation paper, but if you want to use copy paper, I have seen people do it with copy paper, so that's negotiable. But you have to have sublimation ink. That is non-negotiable. You cannot use regular inkjet ink to sublimate. It wouldn't be sublimation without the sublimation ink. So the equipment needed would be your sublimation ink. You need a sublimation printer. So you can either purchase an actual sublimation printer, which would be like there's a couple Epson printers. The F170 and the F570 are sublimation printers by Epson, and then there's some Sawgrass printers that are actual sublimation printer, but one of the most popular methods is to convert a printer. I do have an Epson EcoTank 8500 that I converted to sublimation. But you have to have a printer, and you one that's either for sublimation or converted, and you have to have the sublimation ink. And then you do have to have paper, so you can either, with the paper, you can either choose the copy paper or you can choose an actual sublimation paper. Everything that I use when it comes to sublimation, I will have linked down below for you. Most of my stuff is purchased from Amazon, minus the printer, but I will go ahead and link all of my supplies that I use for sublimation down below. So if you want to try out anything that I use, it'll be a link down below for you. Okay. And then you need something to adhere your ink to your blank. So either a heat press that can go to a higher heat, a mug press, a tumbler press, a convection oven, an easy press. The easy press 2 and 3 go up to higher heats. Like I said, typically when it comes to sublimating, 385, 400 degrees typically is about where you are in terms of sublimation. You got to get a higher heat. So the lowest I think I've ever seen was like 375, but anything lower than that, you may not get all your ink to transfer. So you need something that can go up to a higher heat. Okay, so easy press 2, easy press 3, hat press, mug press, heat press, all of those things are able to go up to higher heats to assist you with sublimation. Okay, now moving on to heat transfer vinyl. What is heat transfer vinyl? Heat transfer vinyl is basically it is a printable vinyl. So it would be similar to sublimation in regards to printing out your image. So I can have one image that's sublimation and one image that's heat transfer vinyl, and they're going to look the same. Okay. But with heat transfer vinyl, you can use regular ink. I use regular inkjet ink whenever I am doing heat transfer vinyl. There are some people who like to put pigment ink, which is a little bit more vibrant than the inkjet, but it's not necessarily sublimation. It's a pigment ink. So some people do like to go the pigment ink route, and they do their heat transfer vinyl with the pigment ink. But you can use inkjet, the regular, like I have an Epson 7720 that has the regular inkjet ink in it, and I use that printer for my heat transfer vinyl. So all you're doing is you're printing your image on basically a piece of like white printable vinyl, and then you would have your cutter cut it out for you so that you can get it onto your blank. Okay. What can you press on when it comes to heat transfer vinyl? You can press that on basically any kind of fabric. I've never tried to put heat transfer vinyl on a coffee mug. Maybe I will. So I'm not for sure if you can or not, but I know you can get it onto fabric, basically any kind of fabric. You can get on polyester, spandex, as long as the spandex can withhold the heat, cotton, whatever. You can put it on fabric. So with that, you have a little bit more variety because you can put it on cotton. You can put it on the cotton totes. You can put it on cotton makeup bags. So you have a little bit more wiggle room when it comes to the heat transfer vinyl because you can press it on more items. So anything that's fabric, basically you can put heat transfer vinyl on as long as it's able to withstand the heat that's needed to adhere the vinyl to the blank. Okay, so what equipment is needed for heat transfer vinyl? You need an inkjet printer, your ink, whether you're going to go with the ink that comes with your printer or you're going to go with pigment ink. You need ink, you need a regular printer, and you need your heat transfer vinyl. And really that's it. And then your blank, and that's it. Okay, so nothing special when it comes to heat transfer vinyl. Okay, so now I want to talk about which one is going to be more durable, and I want to show you the difference between a heat transfer vinyl and sublimation and how they look on a t-shirt. Okay, so here I have a sublimation t-shirt. This is on a 100% polyester Gildan Performance t-shirt. So it is 100% polyester. So these colors are going to be the most vibrant colors that I will be able to get. I did use the correct settings. I used the sublimation ink, the correct sublimation ink, correct paper, all of those things. So this is going to be the brightest color I would be able to get because it is on white and it is 100% polyester. So with sublimation, because the ink actually adheres to the fibers, there isn't an extra layer on this t-shirt, okay? So think of like when you're applying HTV onto a shirt, you can feel it because there's another, you're applying a layer of HTV onto the shirt. Whereas with sublimation, you're not doing that. You are actually adhering the ink to the fibers. So doing that does not create an extra layer. Okay? So there's no extra layer. It's just the t-shirt. So this tends to, in my experience, this tends to last just a little bit longer than the heat transfer vinyl does. Okay, but that's how the sublimation looks. And then here is a heat transfer vinyl shirt, and it does have a little bit of a glossier look to it. You don't have to necessarily have a glossier look. They do have paper that will give you a more matte look so that you don't get this glossy effect. I just like it, but if you prefer a matte look, they do have brands of paper that will give you a matte look or a matte finish, okay? But with this, you see how you can kind of hear it? Okay, because it's not adhered to, it's adhered to the shirt, but it's not adhered to the actual fibers of the shirt. Okay, so basically with heat transfer vinyl, it's just a layer of vinyl placed on top of the shirt. Okay, so you are going to feel it. Depending on how you wash it and the brand that you've used, it may peel up a little bit. I know when I've used some cheaper brands, I have had them peel. Or if you're not washing it correctly, I've done that as well. You know, made myself shirts and didn't wash them per the directions they should be washed. And they did not last as long as my sublimation shirts because I wasn't properly taking care of them. So you do run into those types of issues if you were to sell this to customers. You know, customers may not necessarily follow their care instructions. So they're going to get more peeling on this quicker than they would get fading on the sublimation shirt if they went that route. But the biggest major difference is going to be the variety. Okay, so with sublimation, you're really limited to, like I said, polyester coated items, whereas with heat transfer vinyl, you're not. Okay, you can use pretty much any kind of fabric. So that's two major differences. Okay, and last but not least, which one is more cost efficient for a beginner? That really depends on what you have already. So if you already have a regular printer, then the heat transfer vinyl route would probably save you more money just because you already have the printer and you don't have to convert it and you can use regular ink. Whereas if you've never done sublimation before, the actual startup cost of it is going to be more. It's going to be more expensive. Okay. Getting the printer right now, good printers are going for somewhere between $600 to $800 a printer. So you got to get the printer, the ink, the blanks, you know, things like that. So when it comes to starting out fresh, sublimation is probably going to cost you a little bit more than if you were to go the heat transfer vinyl route. Now, the heat transfer vinyl route really depends on what kind of cutter you have. I know when I was doing heat transfer vinyl, when I started doing t-shirts, I was very limited because I have a Cricut, and Cricut only allows you to print 6.75 by 9.25, whereas Silhouette allows you to go bigger. So if you have a Cricut machine, just keep in mind that with heat transfer vinyl, you are going to be limited to, like for this shirt, this is a large, and I would have preferred this image to be way bigger on this shirt. But because I was cutting it with a Cricut, I wasn't able to get this image bigger than this. Okay, so you definitely want to keep that in mind, that if you're trying to sell these shirts and you have to go large, extra large, 1X, 2X, 3X, things like that, and you have a Cricut, it's going to be harder. You're going to have to like slice your image and then piece it together. You're not going to be able to cut it in one cut like you would if you had a Silhouette or if you were sublimating it. And even if you're sublimating it, you can't print from, you still can't print from Cricut. I print from Silhouette Studio if I'm sublimating an image, because you don't sublimate white most of the time. I guess there's a couple little nicks and hacks or whatever where you can print white, but 9 times from my experience, you can print white. Okay, so on your image, if you're printing a white image and you're putting it onto a gray t-shirt, you have to keep in mind that wherever the white is on that image, it's going to actually be gray because of your t-shirt. Because sublimation doesn't print white. At least my sublimation don't print white. And I have an actual sublimation printer as well. I have 2 of them. And my sublimation doesn't print white on either one. So if you have, like, let's say a Mickey Mouse, or does Mickey Mouse have white eyes? I think it does. Whatever. Let's say you're printing a Mickey Mouse and Mickey Mouse has, you know, white eyes on the image. If you print off a Mickey Mouse and you're trying to sublimate it onto like a light gray shirt, you can sublimate on a light gray shirt. Just keep in mind his eyes are going to be gray. They're not going to be white. Okay? So, but with the heat transfer vinyl, it will print white. Okay? So that's just some differences here. That's really all I have in terms of the major differences. Which would be better for your business, that really is up to you on what's going to be like what your budget. It's really going to depend on your budget. It's going to depend on what you're willing to learn, what you're willing to master, what you're trying to sell. If you're trying to put these in an Etsy shop or start a clothing line business or a t-shirt business, you have to really decide what you want to have in your business and then pick your printers from there. Yeah, it's really just going to be your preference. It's really just going to be where you see your business going. So I don't want to tell you which one to go for your business. If you have any other questions, drop them down below or message me on Facebook. I will leave my links, my social media handles down below. Send me a DM if you have a really specific question you need help with. But yeah, I don't want to say you should go this route, because maybe, you know, different strokes for different folks. So it's really truly dependent on where you see your business going, on which decision you should make. And keep in mind, these are not the only 2 ways to go about t-shirts. There's direct to garment, DTG, DTF, eco solvent. There are still other things that you could explore. I don't have those options, but there's some other channels out there, Craftable Things. If you don't know who she is, she does DTF. She also does eco solvent. Who else does? I think Best Uni does some eco solvent. She was doing DTF for a minute. I'm not sure if she's still doing it, but I do think she has a couple of videos from when she was. I mean, just there's tons of videos out there about, you know, different ways that you can go about starting a t-shirt business. Okay, sublimation and heat transfer vinyl aren't the only 2 ways. There's, you know, 10 other ways. So definitely make sure when you're starting your business, if this is something you're passionate about, make sure you do your research. There's so much free information out here on YouTube by so many different creators. But yeah, just do your research. But that's all I have for this video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. Until next time, guys. Bye.